There is a reason you are here right now, and no matter how much you try to treat this like just another video, something deep inside you already knows that this moment is different. Out of all the content in the world, out of all the distractions fighting for your attention, you somehow landed here at this exact time, listening to these exact words, and that is not random. This is what people often ignore. The quiet moments where life slows down just enough for truth to reach you. You've been busy, haven't you? Busy thinking, busy worrying, busy trying to figure everything out on your own, carrying pressure that nobody else can see, smiling on the outside while something inside feels unsettled. And over time, you got used to it. You accepted it as normal. You told yourself this is just how life is supposed to feel. But deep down, there's always been a small voice, a feeling you can't explain, telling you that something is missing, something is not aligned, something needs to change. That feeling is not confusion, and it is not weakness. It is awareness trying to break through all the noise you've surrounded yourself with. Because somewhere along the way, you didn't lose your path all at once. You slowly drifted away from it, step by step, distraction by distraction, doubt by doubt. Life became louder than your inner clarity, and you started trusting your fears more than your faith, your overthinking more than your intuition. But even then, even in your most disconnected moments, you were never truly alone. There were times when things could have gone wrong but didn't. Moments when you felt like giving up but somehow kept going. Situations where something unseen protected you, guided you, held you together when you felt like falling apart. You called it luck, coincidence, timing. But what if it was something more? What if it was always guidance, waiting for you to finally notice it? You've been carrying things that nobody knows about, haven't you? Thoughts you don't share, fears you don't express, questions that stay locked inside your mind because you think no one would understand them anyway. And the hardest part is not even the struggle itself, it's pretending that everything is okay when it isn't. You've learned how to function even when you feel broken, how to keep moving even when you feel lost, and slowly that became your normal. But just because something feels normal doesn't mean it's right. There's a difference between surviving and truly living. And somewhere deep inside, you already feel that gap. You feel that you were meant for something more, something deeper, something real. But you keep postponing it, telling yourself you'll figure it out later, when things calm down, when life makes more sense. But life doesn't wait for you to be ready, and clarity doesn't come from avoiding yourself. The more you ignore that inner voice, the louder your confusion becomes, the heavier your thoughts feel, and the further you drift from the person you're meant to become. That's why this moment matters, because right now, for the first time in a long time, you're not running, you're not distracting yourself, you're actually listening. And maybe, just maybe, you're starting to realize that everything you've been through was not meant to break you, but to shape you. Every challenge, every delay, every disappointment, it all had a purpose, even if you couldn't see it at the time. The question is not why it happened. The real question is what you're going to do now that you're finally aware of it. There is something powerful about realizing that you are not as lost as you think you are. Even in your lowest moments, when everything felt uncertain and nothing made sense, there was still a part of you that kept going, a part of you that refused to completely give up. That part of you is not random. It is strength that you didn't even know you had. And the truth is, you were never meant to have everything figured out all the time. Life is not about having constant clarity. It's about learning to move forward even when things are unclear. Trusting that each step you take is leading you somewhere meaningful. But trust is difficult when you've been hurt, when things didn't go the way you expected, when you feel like you've already tried so much and still ended up confused. That's why most people stop growing, not because they can't continue, but because they stop believing that anything will change. They settle into comfort, even if that comfort feels empty, because at least it's familiar. But you are not meant to stay in that space. The discomfort you feel right now is not there to hold you back. It's there to push you forward. It's there to remind you that you are capable of more, that your current situation is not your final destination. And the moment you stop resisting that feeling, the moment you stop ignoring it and actually listen, something begins to shift inside you. You start seeing things differently, thinking differently, and slowly, your direction begins to change, even if everything around you looks the same. Think about how many times you doubted yourself, how many times you told yourself that you're not ready, not capable, not good enough. Those thoughts didn't appear out of nowhere. They were built over time, shaped by experiences, failures, and moments where things didn't go your way. And without realizing it, you started believing them. You started treating those thoughts like facts instead of questioning them. But what if those thoughts were never true? What if they were just reflections of fear, not reality? Because the truth is, you have already survived things that once felt impossible. You have already handled situations that you thought would break you, and you are still here, still standing, still searching for something better. That alone proves something important. You are stronger than you think. But strength is not just about surviving. It's about evolving. It's about learning from everything you've been through and using it to move forward instead of letting it hold you back. And right now, you are standing at a point where you can either continue repeating the same patterns or choose something different. It doesn't require a perfect plan. It doesn't require everything to be clear. It just requires one decision: to stop ignoring yourself. Because the moment you start paying attention to what you feel, to what you know deep down, to what keeps calling you quietly, you begin to reconnect with something real. And that connection changes everything. This moment right here is more important than you realize. Not because something dramatic is happening, but because something subtle is shifting inside you. Awareness is growing, and once you become aware, you can't go back to being the same person. You can ignore it, you can delay it, but you can't completely erase it. And that's where change begins, not in big actions, but in small realizations. Realizing that you don't want to keep feeling this way. Realizing that you're tired of confusion, tired of overthinking, tired of pretending, and most importantly, realizing that you have the power to do something about it. Not all at once, not perfectly, but step by step. You don't need to have everything figured out today. You just need to stop running from what you already feel. Because the answers you're looking for are not as far as you think. They've been within you this whole time, waiting for you to slow down and listen. And right now, you are finally doing that. So don't ignore this moment. Don't treat it like just another video, because it might be the turning point you didn't even know you needed. Sometimes the biggest changes in life don't come from external events. They come from internal decisions. And this could be yours. The decision to start paying attention, to start trusting yourself again, and to move forward, even if it's just one small step at a time. Stop scrolling right now. Yes, you, the one who almost skipped this without thinking. Take a second and just breathe. Because what you are about to hear is not random. It is not just another video. And it is definitely not a coincidence that you are here at this exact moment. Out of millions of videos, endless distractions, and all the noise in your life, somehow you landed here, and deep down, you can feel it. Something about this moment feels different. Something feels important, and that is because it is. This is your sign. Not tomorrow, not someday, but right now. And the truth is, you have been waiting for this moment without even realizing it. Lately, something has not felt right in your life. Has it? You have been doing everything you are supposed to do, moving forward, staying busy, trying to keep everything together. But inside there is this quiet feeling that you cannot ignore anymore, a feeling that something is missing, something is off, something is not aligned. And no matter how much you distract yourself, no matter how much you try to ignore it, it keeps coming back, stronger every time. Maybe you have not told anyone about it. Maybe you have been pretending that everything is fine, smiling around people, acting normal, playing your role perfectly. But when you are alone, when everything gets silent, that is when the truth hits you, the overthinking, the doubts, the questions that never seem to have answers. You ask yourself things like, am I on the right path? Why do I feel this way? Why does it seem like nothing is working the way I expected? And slowly, you start believing that maybe something is wrong with you. Maybe you are not good enough. Maybe you are just lost. But listen carefully, because this is where everything changes. That feeling you have been experiencing is not a weakness. It is not failure. It is not something to run away from. It is a signal. It is a sign. It is a message trying to reach you. And that message is deeper than anything you have been listening to lately. Because when your life starts to feel uncomfortable, when things stop making sense, when you feel like you are being pulled in a direction you cannot explain, it is not always something bad. Sometimes it is the exact moment where growth begins. But growth is uncomfortable. Change is scary. And clarity does not come when everything is easy. It comes when something inside you refuses to stay the same. And right now, that is exactly what is happening to you. You have outgrown something. Maybe it is a situation. Maybe it is a mindset. Maybe it is a version of yourself that no longer fits who you are becoming. But instead of moving forward, you have been holding on to what feels familiar, holding on to what feels safe, even if deep down you know it is not right for you anymore. And that fear of letting go is what is keeping you stuck. But here is the truth you need to hear right now. You cannot step into the life that is meant for you if you keep holding on to the life that is meant to end. You have been asking for signs. You have been asking for clarity. You have been asking for something to guide you and show you what to do next. And here it is, right in front of you. But the problem is, signs do not always come the way you expect. They do not come with loud voices or dramatic moments. Sometimes they come quietly, through a feeling you cannot ignore, through a message that makes you stop and think, through a moment like this. And most people miss it, not because the sign is not there, but because they are too distracted to notice it. Too busy scrolling, too busy thinking, too busy waiting for the perfect time. But there is no perfect time. There is only now. And right now, something inside you is waking up. You can feel it. That slight shift in your awareness. That feeling that maybe this is something you needed to hear. That is not a coincidence. That is alignment. Because the truth is, God does not shout. He whispers. And if you do not slow down, you will miss it. Think about how many times life tried to show you something, but you ignored it. How many times you felt that inner voice telling you something is not right, but you kept going anyway? How many times you settled for less because it felt easier than facing the unknown? And where has that gotten you? Still searching? Still questioning? still feeling like something is missing, that is not because you are lost, it is because you have not been listening. But right now you are listening, and that changes everything. Because the moment you start listening, the moment you stop running from what you feel, the moment you take that inner voice seriously, that is when your life begins to change. Not instantly, not magically, but powerfully. Step by step, choice by choice. And it all starts with one decision: to stop ignoring the signs, to stop doubting yourself, to stop pretending you do not feel what you feel. Because deep down you already know. You know what is not right in your life. You know what you have been avoiding. You know what needs to change. You have always known. You have just been afraid to accept it. Afraid of what it might mean. Afraid of what you might have to leave behind. Afraid of stepping into something uncertain. But staying where you are is costing you more than moving forward ever will. Every day you ignore this feeling, you move further away from the life you are meant to live. And that is the real danger. Not failure, not mistakes, but staying stuck. Because the longer you stay stuck, the harder it becomes to break free. And that is why this moment matters so much. Because this is your chance to wake up, your chance to finally see things clearly, your chance to stop running and start moving toward the life you are meant to live. But it starts right now, with awareness, with attention, with a simple decision. This is your sign. Do not ignore it. Now that you have stopped and actually listened, something inside you has already begun to shift, even if you cannot fully explain it yet. And that is how real change always starts. Not with a loud moment or a dramatic breakthrough, but with a quiet realization that something is no longer the same. And the truth is, you are not the same person you were before this moment. Because awareness changes you. Once you see something clearly, you cannot unsee it. Once you feel something deeply, you cannot go back to pretending it does not exist. And that is exactly where you are right now, standing between who you used to be and who you are meant to become. And that space in between feels uncomfortable, confusing, even a little scary. Because you are no longer fully connected to your old patterns, but you are not fully aligned with your new path yet. And that uncertainty makes you question everything. It makes you doubt yourself. It makes you wonder if you are making the right choices or if you are just overthinking again. But listen carefully, because this is important. Growth always feels uncertain in the beginning. You are not supposed to have all the answers right now. You are not supposed to see the entire path clearly. You are only supposed to take the next step and trust that the rest will reveal itself as you move forward. But trust is difficult when you have been hurt before, when things did not go the way you expected, when you gave your energy, your time, your effort, and still ended up feeling disappointed. And because of that, you built walls. You became more careful, more guarded. You started thinking more before acting, protecting yourself from getting hurt again. And while that may have kept you safe, it also kept you stuck, because you cannot grow inside a comfort zone that is built on fear. You cannot move forward if you keep looking back at what went wrong, and you cannot step into something new if you are still holding on to what is no longer meant for you. And that is the part most people struggle with. Letting go. Not because they do not want better, but because they are afraid of the unknown, afraid of losing what they have, even if it is not making them happy, afraid of change because change means stepping into uncertainty. But here is what you need to understand. The life you are meant to live is on the other side of that fear. Everything you have been asking for, clarity, peace, purpose, direction. It is not behind you, it is ahead of you, but you will not reach it by staying where you are. You will not discover it by repeating the same patterns. You will not experience it by ignoring what you already feel deep inside, because that feeling is guiding you, even if it does not make sense yet, even if it does not come with clear instructions. It is pointing you in the right direction. And the more you ignore it, the more restless you feel. The more you listen to it, the more aligned you become. And slowly things start to make sense. Not all at once, but piece by piece, moment by moment. And that is how transformation works. It is not one big decision. It is a series of small choices. Choosing to listen instead of ignore. Choosing to trust instead of doubt. Choosing to move forward instead of staying stuck. And every time you make that choice, you strengthen something inside you. You build confidence. You build clarity. You build connection with yourself. And that connection is powerful, because when you are connected to yourself, you do not need constant validation from others. You do not need to keep questioning your worth. You do not need to look outside for answers that already exist within you. And that is what this moment is leading you toward. A deeper understanding of who you are and what you are meant to do. But it requires honesty. Real honesty with yourself. Not the kind where you say everything is fine when it is not, but the kind where you admit what you have been avoiding, where you face what you have been running from, where you accept that something in your life needs to change. And that acceptance is not weakness, it is strength, because it takes courage to face yourself. It takes courage to admit that you are not where you want to be, and it takes even more courage to do something about it. And that is the choice in front of you right now. You can go back to your old habits, your old patterns, your old way of thinking, or you can take this moment seriously and start making different choices. Even small ones, because small changes lead to big transformations over time. And you do not have to figure everything out today. You do not have to have a perfect plan. You just need to be willing to move, to take that first step, to trust that you are being guided even when you cannot see the full picture. Because the truth is, you are not as alone as you think you are. You have never been. There has always been something guiding you, protecting you, pushing you forward even when you felt stuck. And maybe you did not recognize it before. Maybe you thought it was just luck or coincidence. But now you are starting to see it differently. Now you are starting to realize that there is something more, something deeper, something that has been trying to get your attention. And this moment right here is part of that. This is not just a message, it is a reminder that you are not lost, you are not behind, you are not broken. You are in a process of becoming someone stronger, someone wiser, someone more aligned with their true path. And that process takes time, it takes patience, it takes trust, but most importantly, it takes awareness. And right now you have that awareness. So do not waste it. Do not ignore it. Do not go back to living on autopilot, because you are capable of more than that. You are meant for more than that. And deep down, you already know it. That is why you are still searching. That is why you are still listening. That is why you are still here. And that is why this message matters. Because it is reminding you of something you almost forgot, that your life has meaning, that your path has purpose, and that the moment you start aligning with that purpose, everything begins to change, slowly but surely, in ways you never expected. And it all starts with you choosing to move forward. Right now, not later, not someday, but now. At this point, you can feel it more clearly than before. That quiet shift inside you that is no longer easy to ignore. And the more you try to understand it, the more you realize that it is not something new. It has always been there. You just did not pay attention to it. And now it is getting stronger because you are finally listening. And that is exactly how alignment begins. Not by forcing change, not by chasing something outside, but by reconnecting with what has always been within you. Because the truth is, you were never meant to live in constant confusion. You were never meant to feel stuck in a life that does not feel right. You were never meant to keep questioning your worth or your direction. Those feelings are not your destination. They are signals guiding you towards something better. But the problem is, most people misinterpret those signals. They see discomfort as a reason to stop. They see uncertainty as a sign to go back. They see fear as something to avoid, when in reality, those are the very moments that are meant to push you forward. Because everything you want is on the other side of what you are afraid to face. And that is why this stage feels so intense. Because you are standing right at the edge of change, right between your old life and your new one, and the only thing separating the two is your decision to move. But making that decision is not always easy, because your mind will try to keep you where you are. It will remind you of past failures. It will bring up doubts. It will create scenarios that make you question yourself. And if you are not careful, you will start believing those thoughts again. You will start convincing yourself that it is safer to stay the same, that it is better to wait, that maybe now is not the right time. But that is exactly how people stay stuck for years, waiting for a moment that never comes, waiting for certainty that does not exist. Waiting for everything to feel perfect before they take action, and by the time they realize what they have lost, it is already too late. And that is why this message matters so much, because it is breaking that pattern. It is reminding you that you do not need to have everything figured out to move forward. You just need to trust that the feeling inside you is leading you somewhere important, because it is. Even if it does not make sense right now, even if you cannot see the full picture, even if you are not sure how everything will work out, you are still being guided, and the more you trust that guidance, the stronger it becomes, the clearer it becomes, the more confident you become in your own decisions. And that is when everything starts to change, not outside first, but inside. Your mindset shifts, your perspective changes. The way you see your life becomes different, and suddenly things that once confused you start making sense. Things that once held you back no longer have the same power over you, and that is because you are no longer operating from fear. You are operating from awareness, and awareness is powerful because it gives you control over your choices. It allows you to see what is real and what is just a thought. It helps you separate your truth from your doubts, and once you reach that point, you cannot go back to living unconsciously. You cannot go back to ignoring what you know deep down, because now you see it, now you feel it, now you understand that your life is not meant to be lived on autopilot. It is meant to be experienced fully, intentionally, with purpose. And that purpose is not something you find by accident. It is something you step into when you stop ignoring yourself, when you stop running from what you feel, when you stop settling for less than what you know you deserve. And that is the decision you are being called to make right now. Not a big dramatic decision, but a simple, honest one. To stop going against yourself, to stop choosing comfort over growth, to stop delaying what you already know needs to happen, because every time you delay it, every time you ignore it, you create more resistance in your life, more confusion, more frustration. And that is not because life is against you, it is because you are out of alignment with yourself. And the moment you start aligning again, everything begins to flow differently. Opportunities start appearing, clarity starts building. Your energy shifts, your confidence grows, and even though the path may still be uncertain, you no longer feel lost. Because you trust where you are going, and that trust changes everything. It gives you the strength to keep moving even when things are not perfect. It gives you the courage to take steps that once felt impossible. It gives you the peace of knowing that you are exactly where you need to be in this moment. Not behind, not late, not off track, but right on time. Learning what you need to learn, becoming who you need to become, and preparing for what is coming next. Because there is always a next step, always a new level, always a new version of you waiting to be discovered. But you cannot reach that version if you keep holding on to who you used to be. You have to be willing to let go, to evolve, to step into the unknown with trust instead of fear. And that is what this moment is asking from you. Not perfection, not certainty, just willingness. Willingness to listen, willingness to trust, willingness to move forward even if it is just one small step at a time. Because those small steps are what create big changes. Those small decisions are what shape your future, and right now you are making one of those decisions, whether you realize it or not, by choosing to stay here, by choosing to listen, by choosing to be present in this moment. You are already moving in the right direction. And that is something you should not ignore, because it means you are ready to grow, ready to change, ready to step into something greater than what you have been settling for. And that readiness is your power. That readiness is your opportunity. And what you do with it from this moment forward will determine everything that comes next. Right now, you are closer to a turning point than you have ever been before, even if it does not look like it on the outside, because real turning points do not always come with big visible changes. They begin quietly, internally, in the way you think, in the way you feel, in the way you start seeing your life differently, and that is exactly what is happening to you. Something inside you is no longer willing to settle, no longer willing to accept confusion as normal, no longer willing to keep repeating the same patterns that have kept you stuck for so long. And that realization is powerful, but it also comes with a challenge, because once you become aware, you are faced with a choice, a real choice, not the kind you can ignore or postpone, but one that demands honesty. You either continue living the way you have been, knowing deep down it is not right for you, or you begin to change, even if that change feels uncomfortable, even if it requires you to step into uncertainty. And that is where most people hesitate, not because they do not want better, but because they are afraid of what better might require from them, afraid of letting go of what feels familiar, afraid of leaving behind people, habits, or situations that no longer align with who they are becoming. And that fear can be strong. It can make you question yourself. It can make you second-guess everything. It can even convince you to stay where you are just because it feels safer. But here is what you need to understand. Safe does not always mean right, and familiar does not always mean good. Sometimes the very things you are holding on to are the same things holding you back. And until you are willing to release them, you will keep feeling that inner tension, that feeling that something is not aligned, that something is missing, and it will not go away, no matter how much you try to ignore it. Because it is not meant to be ignored, it is meant to be understood. It is meant to guide you toward a different direction, a better direction. But that direction requires movement. It requires action, and not necessarily big dramatic actions, but small intentional ones. Decisions that move you closer to the person you want to become, even if they feel uncomfortable at first. Because growth always feels uncomfortable in the beginning. It challenges your Pravich habits. It pushes you out of your comfort zone. It forces you to face parts of yourself that you may have been avoiding. But that is exactly why it is necessary, because you cannot grow by staying the same. You cannot evolve by repeating the same thoughts, the same actions, the same patterns that have kept you where you are. Something has to change, and that something starts with you, with your mindset, with your willingness to see things differently, with your courage to take responsibility for your own life instead of waiting for something outside to fix it for you. Because no one else can do that. No one else can live your life for you. No one else can make the decisions that only you are meant to make. And that realization can feel heavy at first, but it is also empowering because it means you are not stuck. It means you have control. It means you have the ability to change your direction at any moment, starting now, starting with the choices you make from this point forward. And those choices do not have to be perfect. They just have to be honest, aligned with what you know deep down is right for you. And the more you make those choices, the easier it becomes, the more confident you feel, the more clarity you gain. And slowly, your life begins to reflect that inner shift. Things start to fall into place. Opportunities begin to appear. Your energy changes, your mindset strengthens, and even though challenges will still come, you handle them differently. You face them with more awareness, more resilience, more trust in yourself. And that trust is key, because without it, you will always fall back into doubt, always question your path, always hesitate when it is time to move forward. But when you trust yourself, when you trust that you are capable of figuring things out, that you are strong enough to handle whatever comes your way, everything changes. Fear loses its control over you. Uncertainty no longer feels like a threat. It becomes a space of possibility, a space where new things can enter your life, where new paths can open up, where new versions of you can emerge. And that is what this moment is leading you toward, not just change, but transformation. A deeper shift in who you are and how you live your life. But transformation does not happen overnight. It happens through consistency, through small daily choices, through moments like this where you decide to listen instead of ignore, to act instead of delay, to trust instead of doubt. And every time you make that choice, you move closer to the life you have been searching for. The life that feels right, the life that feels aligned. The life where you are not constantly questioning yourself, but instead moving with confidence, with purpose, with clarity. And that life is not as far away as you think. It is closer than you realize. It starts within you, within your decisions, within your willingness to change. And that is why this message is so important, because it is not just reminding you of what you already feel. It is pushing you to act on it, to stop waiting, to stop hesitating, to stop telling yourself that you will do it later, because later is uncertain. Later is never guaranteed, and the only moment you truly have is now. This moment, right here, where you are aware, where you are present, where you have the opportunity to make a different choice. And that choice can change everything, not instantly, not magically, but gradually, powerfully in ways you may not even expect. And it all begins with you deciding that you are no longer going to ignore what you feel, no longer going to settle for less than what you know you are capable of, no longer going to stay stuck in a version of your life that does not reflect who you truly are, because you deserve more than that, and deep down you already know it. That is why you are still here. That is why you are still listening. That is why this message is reaching you now. Because you are ready to take that next step, ready to move forward, ready to become the person you are meant to be. And all it takes is one decision, one moment of courage, one step in the direction you already feel inside, and everything from there will begin to change. Now you've reached a moment that most people never truly arrive at. A moment of complete awareness where everything starts to make sense in a deeper way. Not perfectly, not all at once, but enough for you to realize that you can no longer go back to the way you were before, because something inside you has changed, something has awakened. And once that happens, there is no returning to ignorance. No returning to pretending that everything is fine when you know it isn't. And that is both powerful and uncomfortable at the same time, because awareness comes with responsibility. The responsibility to act on what you now understand. The responsibility to stop ignoring the truth you feel deep inside. And the responsibility to choose a different path even when it feels uncertain. Because the truth is, you already know what needs to change in your life. You have known it for a long time. You have just been delaying it, pushing it aside, waiting for the right moment. But now you are realizing that the right moment is not something that appears out of nowhere. It is something you create by making a decision, and that decision is standing right in front of you, clearer than ever before. You can either continue living the same way, repeating the same patterns, feeling the same confusion, or you can finally step forward into something new, something aligned, something real. And that step does not require you to have everything figured out. It does not require you to be fearless. It only requires you to be willing to trust yourself, willing to take action even if it is small, willing to let go of what no longer serves you, because holding on is what has been keeping you stuck. Holding on to old habits, old beliefs, old situations that you have outgrown, and the longer you hold on, the heavier it becomes. The more it drains your energy, the more it disconnects you from who you are becoming. And that is why letting go is not a loss. It is a release, a necessary step towards something better, something that aligns with the person you are evolving into. And yes, it may feel uncomfortable at first. It may feel like you are stepping into the unknown, but that is where growth happens. That is where new opportunities exist. That is where your real life begins to unfold, because nothing new can enter your life if you are still holding on to the old. And that is the shift you are being guided toward right now. A shift in mindset, a shift in direction, a shift in the way you see yourself and your future. Because you are not the same person anymore. You are stronger, wiser, more aware. Even if you do not fully recognize it yet, everything you have been through has been shaping you, preparing you for this exact moment, building a version of you that is ready to handle more, ready to understand more, ready to step into a higher level of life. But that next level requires action. It requires you to move beyond your comfort zone, to make choices that reflect who you are becoming instead of who you used to be. And those choices may not always be easy. They may challenge you. They may push you. They may require you to trust yourself in ways you never have before. But that is exactly what will transform your life, because transformation is not about staying comfortable. It is about evolving, about becoming someone who is aligned with their purpose, someone who lives with intention instead of confusion, someone who moves forward with trust instead of fear. And that is the path you are stepping onto right now. Whether you realize it or not, by staying here, by listening, by allowing yourself to feel this moment instead of ignoring it, you have already taken the first step. And that step matters more than you think, because every big change starts with a small decision. A decision to be aware, a decision to listen, a decision to move forward. And from this moment on, everything depends on what you choose to do with that awareness. You can let it fade. You can go back to your routine. You can pretend that nothing happened. Or you can take it seriously. You can use it as a turning point, as the moment where you finally decide that enough is enough, that you are no longer going to stay stuck, no longer going to ignore your inner voice, no longer going to settle for a life that does not feel right. And that decision does not have to be loud. It does not have to be dramatic. It just has to be real. Real enough that you act on it, even in small ways. Even if it is just one step at a time, because those small steps will lead you somewhere powerful, somewhere meaningful, somewhere that reflects who you truly are. And one day, you will look back at this moment and realize that this was the point where everything began to change, not because of something outside, but because you chose to listen, you chose to trust, you chose to move forward. And that is what makes this moment so important, because this is your sign, the one you have been waiting for, the one you have been asking for, the one that is telling you clearly that it is time to wake up, time to change, time to step into the life you are meant to live, and this time, do not ignore it.